If choosing between Vego Garden and Birdies has you staring at 80 bolts instead of planting tomatoes, this one's for you. Welcome to RudeInsect.com.
And honestly, that's the real test of a raised bed kit, isn't it? Not the glossy photo with perfect lettuce. It's whether you can assemble the thing on a Saturday without inventing new words your neighbors shouldn't hear.
Today we're talking Vego Garden versus Birdies, specifically metal raised beds for 2026. And the short answer from the article is pretty clear. Both are good, but if we were buying 2 more beds tomorrow, Vego Garden gets the first look.
The Vego Garden 17 by 32 tall modular metal bed, specifically. Not because Birdies is bad. Birdies has a loyal following for a reason. Their 8-in-1 modular galvanized bed is sturdy, proven, and it looks really nice once basil and calendula start flopping over the edges.
But the verdict wasn't a knockout. It was more like 60-40 for Vego.
Exactly. Vego wins by enough, not by a mile. If your friend down the street says, I want one clean purchase, I want flexibility, I don't want to regret this in 3 years, I point them toward Vego first.
The testing conditions matter here too. This wasn't a patio showroom comparison. We're talking Zone 6B, freeze-thaw cycles, spring rain, summer heat, drip irrigation, mulch packed against the sides, kids leaning over the panels hunting cherry tomatoes.
And someone dragging the hose over the top edge, even though that someone knows better.
I feel attacked.
You should. Hoses are raised bed assassins.
Fair. The garden in the article has 14 beds now, mostly vegetables, plus that one chaotic bed that's apparently become a holding pen for calendula, self-seeded dill, and peppers that were too emotionally difficult to compost.
We all have that bed. Mine has parsley, mystery onions, and one marigold that thinks it owns the place.
So when comparing these beds, the important stuff wasn't just price. It was assembly, panel stiffness after filling, edge safety, rust resistance, useful modular shapes, and whether you'd spend your own money on it again.
And that's where Vego feels a little more polished. The panels line up cleanly, the finish is consistent, and the modular setup feels like someone actually built it, got annoyed, and then fixed the annoying bits before selling it.
Still bolts, though.
Oh, still bolts. Nobody escapes the bolts. You're still crouched in the grass with cold coffee and one glove missing. But Vego feels smoother during assembly.
Birdies, on the other hand, feels more old school.
In a good way. Birdies has that farm garden hardware vibe. It's not trying to be fancy patio furniture. It's utilitarian, tough, and familiar. I actually like that about it.
Here's where I'll push back a little. I kind of prefer that old school feel. Sometimes polished makes me suspicious.
I get that. But with raised beds, polish can mean fewer small frustrations. If the holes line up better and the shapes are easier to configure, that saves time. And when you're building multiple beds, those little differences add up fast.
Especially if you're assembling more than one. 1 bed is a project. 4 beds is a personality test.
And cheap, no-name metal beds can make that test ugly. The article mentioned panels that felt like soda cans, edge trim that popped off when touched by a hose, and rust showing up around scratched bolt holes before the second fall cleanup.
That's the bargain trap. The cheapest bed today may not be the cheapest bed after 2 seasons of wet mulch and freeze-thaw abuse.
My advice would be, if you're buying metal, look for a safe capped edge, decent panel stiffness, and a coating that can handle moisture. Also, don't fill it with bargain mystery topsoil from a contractor unless you enjoy growing rocks and regret.
That sounded personal.
It was. I'm still mad.
So, final call. Birdies is reliable, attractive once planted, and worth considering. But for most backyard gardeners in 2026, Vego Garden's tall modular bed is the safer first recommendation.
Yep, if you already love Birdies, you're not wrong. But if you're starting fresh and want flexibility, easier assembly, and fewer long-term annoyances, Vego gets the nod.
And whichever one you choose, set it where you really want it before filling. Once a tall metal bed is full of soil, compost, and wet mulch, it becomes less of a garden bed and more of a permanent monument.
Thank you for listening to this edition of RudeInsect.com, Conversations with Grant and Fiona.